Hi, everybody. My name is Fee Rye, and I am excited to be here with you for another edition of our Wellness Wednesdays for our Juice Plus Wellness brand. Today, I am honoured to have my dear friend Bridget Serafimidis join us. Bridget has had about 16 or so years of chefing, sometimes on amazing luxury boats, and sometimes as running her own catering company, which is can be very challenging, I'm sure. I've asked Bridget to join us today because part of what we do in Juice Plus Wellness is talk about the eat well. And I think you can't eat well unless you prepare well. And I know back in my day as a fitness professional, one thing that I always tell my clients is meal prep. Get yourself organized and structured so that you know what you're eating, because when we don't know what we're eating, that's when sometimes the not so nutritious food can jump into our diet and sabotage us. So, Bridget, I'm excited to hear from you today. Apart from being a chef, she's an amazing woman. She's also a super mama too. And I'm just really excited to have you here today to share a little bit about your experience and wisdom as to how we can be better prepared and be organized for our meals during the week. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And yeah, like Fee said, I started chefing when I was working on super yachts, and being on a yacht, often you are in the middle of the ocean and there isn't availability to things every day. So you have to get really good at prepping. And often the beautiful clients like to decide that they want a certain thing out of the blue. So I often had to have certain meals prepared, like half prepared, or desserts prepped in the freezer that I could just pull out when they decided to bring a whole lot more guests onto the boat. So that was my introduction to meal prepping. And on the other scale with catering as well, I catered for weddings. So turning up to a wedding, obviously you had to have a lot of it prepared in advance. So I got very used to knowing what I could prepare and what would last and how to look after it. So I think that's quite important. So I thought, like Fee said, I totally believe that a lot of us fall off the wagon when we're into our nutrition, because we open the fridge and there's nothing in there, and we stare at it, and then we close it, and then we stare at it again, and then we go and reach for a bag of chips or something else that doesn't serve us. So the whole idea of this today is just to maybe give you some ideas of how you can prep some foods, maybe dedicate a couple of hours on a Sunday or a day that you have time, and set yourself up for the week ahead. So if you're working, there's definitely great ideas that we could do for lunches and things like that. So first, I just wanted to talk about a 3-day rule, really, just to start off. So I know, obviously, say if we're talking about prepping food on a Sunday and you're going to be prepping maybe some chicken or some vegetables and things like that, we don't want to be using it for more than 3 days. So I would prep for 3 days in advance. And I know that some of you might be like, oh, that means that Wednesday, what's going to happen? Or Thursday, Friday, I'm going to fall off. So I wanted to talk about the idea of also being able to freeze portions as well. So if we talk about making things last, you might often find that you'll look in the supermarket, you might buy a bag of spinach, for example, and it goes off really, really fast, because it's been washed, shoved in a bag. The spinach doesn't like to be friends with the other leaves. They don't like to touch each other. So I would recommend, if you're going to want to have some nice green leafy things available and you want them to last, buy a beautiful head of lettuce. You could even just take the leaves off and you could layer it with paper towel and put it in a Tupperware container, and that will last all week or more, totally fresh, because it's not hanging out with its friends and touching each other. And then another great thing to prep that's going to last for a few days is roasted vegetables. So like we could have carrots and beets and pumpkin. You could do zucchini, eggplant, all of those things. I would roast up. You could either roast them up together or you could do them in individual trays. And then the same thing, storing them in Tupperware containers. Some good things that will freeze when you're prepping would probably be your protein. So maybe you're going to cook up some chicken breasts. You might like to add the sauces then, or you might just do the breasts and then add the dressing afterwards. A really good thing, obviously, is bolognese. You don't have to have your bolognese with pasta. You could make a big thing of bolognese for the kids. You could portion freeze it so you can pull it out when you're in a rush. And you could do some zoodles with zucchini, and that could be your base for your bolognese. So then you're sticking to what you're trying to achieve at that time, and the kids are happy because they've got their pasta and they've got their bolognese. Another really good meal that freezes really well that should actually find somehow to, I wanted to be able to put a recipe in here, but I couldn't. We call it no butter chicken. And so it is delicious. It's literally the sauce is made in the blender, and the sauce can then be frozen, and then you're just adding your chicken into it, cooked. So you could have the cooked chicken, or you could be cooking the chicken, then adding the sauce. It's super delicious. You could have that with a cauliflower rice or rice, and that's another sauce that you can pull out. So things like that. If you're a snacky person, I like to say you could prep. You could even go to the extent of cutting up your carrots and cutting up your celery and putting them in a little bit of water that will stop them from going dry, and then putting them in the container, and that keeps them nice and crispy. You can even on your Sunday when you're doing your prep, why not make up a whole lot of hummus? You just need a can of chickpeas, maybe 3 tablespoons of tahini, clove of garlic, and some water, and you're done. Salt. You can freeze. Hummus freezes really, really well. So take what you need for the week in a container, smaller containers into the freezer. You've got your hummus for the next month. Another really good one is pesto, and pesto doesn't have to be expensive. Like, you can use cashews instead of pine nuts. You can make pesto with parsley if basil's too expensive for that time. Get creative, and that freezes really, really well as well. So cool things, you can pull out your cucumber, your carrot sticks, everything. You've got a ready-made snack on the go, which I think is the snacking is quite often where we fall out. Another one that I love is bliss balls. That we all love our complete powders. They make incredible bliss balls. You can have cashews, our vanilla complete, a little bit of dark chocolate in there, your coconut oil, and you've got a delicious bliss ball, and they freeze amazingly. You have to freeze them because otherwise you're going to eat all of them straight away. So I think things like that. Another one that I love to make that the kids make is a raw chocolate. And I actually got the recipe here to tell you because I won't forget. I thought maybe if you want to write it down, it's so easy. So it's like half a cup of melted coconut oil, half a cup of cacao, and then I put in a scoop of our complete or a bit more. You could add a little bit of honey or a little bit of maple syrup to make it sweet. And then in there, another cool thing to add is chopped up chews. And then you can put it on baking paper and freeze it flat, and then it just snaps into pieces, and you have to keep it in the freezer because it won't stay solid otherwise. Little snacks in the evening, if you need something sweet, that's right there for you to grab. What else did I have written down there? Freezing stuff. If you love smoothies in your morning, a great way to add into your diet extra fruit and vegetables is chucking some vegetables up into your smoothie. Like, you won't notice it. You've got your complete, chop up, frozen and freeze a banana, chop up zucchini, chop up cauliflower. It sounds weird, but actually makes it really, really creamy, and you're getting those extra veggies in your diet in the morning without even noticing it. And one of our favorite things for us to do here is kind of a eat on the go is making poke bowls. So you could cook up some rice for, so this is a disclaimer because rice is definitely one of the major ways that people can get food poisoning. So you have to be really careful when you're cooking rice that you're cooling it and then storing it correctly. But we often make up some brown rice or sushi rice. You could use quinoa as well. And then you're going to have, like, you've got your carrots, you've got edamame, you could add in nori, coriander, corn, beans, broccoli, all those things. And your protein that you've already cooked that's in the fridge. And that's a really cool meal. The kids love it because they get to add their things in there. They get to play with the food as well and choose what they want to put in their bowl. So that is, and you can have all that stuff prepped. You can blanch your broccoli and your beans and edamame and have that stored in the fridge to go. So I think that's the poke bowls are definitely a winner in our house. What else was I going to share? So as far as lunches go, like if you're someone who works and you want to take a healthy lunch, really, really cool thing to make is a big frittata. So you can make up a huge frittata with loads of roasted vegetables in there. You can put bacon in there, whatever you like. Make up like a massive baking tray of it, cut it into slices. You could even freeze some, it will freeze well, and you can grab that, and that can be your lunch, you know, as you go through during the week. If you've got big boys that come home after school and like to demolish things, the frittata's in the fridge and they can grab it, you know, so that's a really good meal idea. And another thing is, if you are making meals in the evening, just double it and make an extra, and you've already made your lunch for the next day, you know, it's there to go. That's what I do with my husband, because he works and he likes to, he doesn't like to, but he used to just grab bad food when he's at work, because that's all that's available, really. And he was really, really noticing it. And so I was like, oh, why don't you just put a potato in the microwave in the morning and bake it? And then, you know, I add tuna and vegetables. And he's like, oh, that's so hard. I can't think of that in the morning. I'm like, it's so easy, but I guess I just think differently than everyone. So now if I'm cooking potatoes at nighttime, I'll make extra potatoes. There'll be extra chicken. We'll make up like a potato salad with his protein and his veggies that night, and it's ready to go the next day. Sushi is one that we do a lot in our house as well. We don't do sandwiches, we do sushi instead. So make up a whole lot of sushi rice. And last night I made sushi for the kids. That was for their lunch today. So you can put in so much goodness in there if you like. And that's a really easy, I wouldn't say it's super healthy lunch, but I use apple cider vinegar and maple syrup instead of the sushi rice wine. So you've got like a little bit more natural stuff in there. It's definitely serving my husband more than grabbing that pie at lunchtime, that's for sure. Yeah, so that was all that I've written down. I feel like for me, I'm not sure what I should say because it comes quite naturally for me to prep stuff. Oh, that's the one more thing, sorry, that I was going to say is breakfast is another thing for breakfast is you can do your chia seed puddings the night before, or you could do your overnight oats if you like that, and you can obviously put your complete powder in there as well, and that is ready for you to go in the morning to grab before you go to work.
Amazing.
Something you'd like to add?
So many ideas.
I feel like I just vomited.
That's okay. No, this is awesome because there's so many ideas there, and I've never actually thought of putting ACV into my sushi rice. I've always used the rice wine. So there you go. Sometimes I was like, I don't have it, so I can't make it. I didn't even think about using apple cider vinegar. So that's a great tip.
Apple cider vinegar, a little bit of maple syrup and salt. That's what I do.
Yeah, perfect. I love all of these tips. And, you know, I agree if we just double up when it gets to the later end of the week so that whatever you're cooking, you can use those leftovers the next day. Huge fan of hot potato, cold potato, hot potato. It just brings out the extra fiber, becomes far more bioavailable for our guts as well. So it's a really cool thing with potatoes. I was very anti-potato for a long time, but then when I realized the absolute power punch that they deliver to our microbiome, I've become a potato eater once more. Definitely the reheating. And I agree. All those yummy things that we can make, pop in the freezer, our bliss balls. I love to make like a lot of bliss ball mix, and then I roll it in Glad wrap or in, leave it in the freezer. And then I just chop off a little bit and then roll them into balls and pop them in the fridge and just leave it. So I've always got some on the go. I think that's really good. And leaving them in the freezer is a good idea. Otherwise, yes, they get consumed way too quickly. And they're nice and cold, so we'll have to wait for that. So, yeah, it's great tips. Bridget, this has been amazing because I've learnt so much, and, you know, it just reminds me to get back in that kitchen and start doing my meal prep a little bit more intentionally, because I must admit I'm a huge frittata fan, but I haven't been making those of late. So that's a good reminder a great thing to just be able to pull out of the fridge or the freezer and throw a salad with it as well. And it's easy and it's amazing. Any final points that you'd like to add?
I think it's just that you don't have to do all of it. So maybe just if you just think, right, this is where I fall off. I'm really bad with snacking, or I'm really bad because I want something sweet and I grab something that doesn't serve me, or at lunchtime I tend to just go down the road and grab something that, you know, so concentrate on those areas of your life that you need to fill, and that's where you can do your prep. Like, I'm not saying that you have to spend all Sunday prepping everything, you know, but if there is an area in your life that you feel that's where you fall off the wagon, or that's where you're having things that aren't serving you so well, then maybe just concentrate on the meal prep for that part of it.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. And also get the kids in the kitchen. Yeah. I mean, you've talked about the kids, your kids in sushi instead of sandwiches. I love that idea. But do your kids get in the kitchen with you and help create?
Yep, when I let them. Yeah, that's why I like, also why I said why I like the making the poke bowls and things like that, because then we put everything on the table, or doing yummy wraps and things for dinner. It's like such a simple thing, but the kids get to choose what they want to put into their wrap and things like that. So I think when they feel like they're in control, they're a lot more likely to eat it.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Well, this has been very informative. Thank you so much for giving us your time on Juice Plus Wellness. And I know that a lot of people will find this very informative and a great way to remind them what they can do, and especially particularly around all the food safety that you mentioned. I think that's really important as well. So thank you so much for
Awesome.
being our guest.
You're welcome. It's lovely to be here.